Hello, sleepy thinkers, and welcome to Sleepy Science Teller, a quiet corner of the night, where science whispers softly and curiosity drifts into dreams. I'm so glad you're here. Tonight, we'll explore a feeling you've probably known since childhood. That sudden, tingling sense that someone might be watching you, even when the room is empty and the night feels still. Why does this happen? What makes our minds so sure that unseen eyes might be near? Let's wander gently into this mystery together. Before we begin, tell me in the comments where in the world you're listening from tonight and what time it is there. I love seeing how far our sleepy little community stretches across the globe. And if this calm corner of science helps you unwind, please tap the like button softly and subscribe so you never miss another bedtime discovery. It usually begins quietly, a faint awareness, a subtle stirring at the edge of thought. Perhaps you're sitting alone, reading, or walking down a silent corridor late at night. There's no sound, no movement, and yet somewhere inside you, a quiet voice begins to whisper, "Someone's watching me." It's a strange feeling, isn't it? So delicate yet so certain. You glance behind, expecting to see someone, but there's only stillness. An empty room, a soft hum of electricity, maybe the faint creak of wood. Still, that unease lingers. You feel a kind of invisible presence, a weight in the air, like the air itself has turned to notice you. And deep inside, your heartbeat seems to respond, just a little faster, just a little louder. This is the beginning of the familiar feeling, a sensation almost every human on earth has known. It crosses age, culture, time, and belief, from a child waking in the dark to an explorer deep in the woods. That same tingle of awareness arises. Science calls it a social awareness illusion, a complex mix of biology, instinct, and imagination. But long before we gave a name, it lived quietly in our nervous system, whispering of safety and danger. It's not madness. It's not superstition. It's simply the brain's way of saying, stay aware. Something might be near. Pause for a moment and imagine one of your own memories. When you felt watched, perhaps you were home alone, the lights dimmed, your mind wandering between focus and daydream, and suddenly you just knew. That unseen awareness filled the space. This is a familiar feeling. It has no shape, no sound, yet it feels like attention made visible, like someone's gaze, even without eyes to see. Psychologists describe it as a blend of perception and imagination. Our senses reach outward, searching for information, and when they find none, the brain fills the silence with possibility. It's a little like hearing your name in a noisy room. Sometimes no one actually said it, but your mind, ever alert for meaning, creates the sound it expects to find. In that same way, your awareness reaches outward, listening for attention. And if it hears nothing, it sometimes invents a watcher of its own. But this invention is not a mistake. It's protection. Our ancestors relied on this ability to survive in ancient forests. One had to feel danger before seeing it. The crack of a twig, the rustle of grass, the soft shift of wind. Any sign might have meant eyes in the dark. So the mind learned to detect presence, even before proof. And that ancient instinct still hums inside us, like an echo from the beginning of time. Now, in modern life, we rarely walk through predator-filled jungles, but that survival circuit doesn't know the difference. It activates in the silence of a hallway, in the loneliness of a dark bedroom, in the stillness of thought. The familiar feeling is the ghost of vigilance, a memory of what kept our ancestors alive. And so, when you feel it today, you are not imagining danger. You are remembering evolution. Let's move a little deeper into the landscape of the mind itself. Inside your brain, billions of neurons communicate like tiny lanterns flickering in the night. They pass signals that create awareness, sight, sound, touch, intuition. And somewhere between these signals, a strange harmony forms. The sense that you exist within a space, and that something else might be sharing it with you. This feeling of shared presence is ancient and profound. Even in total solitude, humans are social beings. We are wired to connect, to read faces, to sense emotion, to notice eyes turned our way. It's why a person's gaze feels powerful. Even if you stand in a crowd and someone looks directly at you, you can feel it instantly, like a warm beam of awareness passing through invisible air. The feeling of being watched is the shadow side of that same ability. It's our social sense, reaching into emptiness, searching for a signal that isn't really there. Imagine this. You're sitting in a quiet cafe, absorbed in your thoughts, and suddenly you look up straight into someone's eyes across the room. You didn't see them before, yet somehow you felt them. That's the same intuition. That flickers in darker moments too, when no one is actually there. Your social radar scans for attention, and sometimes it misfires. This misfire isn't an error. It's a testament to sensitivity. The human brain evolved to err on the side of caution, to assume attention exists, rather than risk ignoring it. Because in ancient times, ignoring a gaze might mean danger, a predator's eyes, a rival's watch, an unseen hunter. To sense those eyes early was to live another day. So the brain became biased, always ready to imagine being watched, even in safety. This subtle paranoia isn't weakness. It's intelligence in disguise. It's your body remembering. That awareness is survival. And even today, when the only eyes nearby belong to a camera or a reflection in a window, that instinct still wakes. Sometimes, the feeling arrives when we are emotionally vulnerable, when we're lost in thought, lonely, or sad. In those moments, the mind grows more alert, more sensitive to imagined attention, because deep down, humans crave connection, even if the watcher we sense is only the echo of our own need to be seen. Now imagine the night itself. Soft shadows across your room, the low hum of the world quieting into sleep. Your breathing slows, your eyes rest, yet somewhere in your awareness, that old sensation stirs again. You think someone's here, but maybe what you're really sensing is your own consciousness reflected back at you. There's a quiet beauty in that thought, that perhaps the feeling of being watched is not about someone else, but about noticing yourself, the self becoming aware of the self. Science might call it a metacognitive loop, your brain observing its own alertness, like holding a mirror up to thought. The watcher and the watched are both you. It's possible that the sensation feels external, because awareness itself is invisible. We don't know where consciousness begins or ends. We only feel its ripples. And so, when those ripples return to us, we mistake them for someone else's presence. In this way, the familiar feeling becomes something more poetic, a quiet dialogue between mind and mystery, between alertness and imagination. Think of how cats or dogs sometimes stare into corners, ears twitching, eyes tracking something unseen. They, too, feel the presence of possibility, the faint hum of awareness. They're tuned finely to every shift in sound, every echo of movement. And humans are no different. Our minds live in layers of perception. The seen, the unseen, the guessed, and the felt. The familiar feeling simply arises when those layers overlap, when awareness touches its own shadow. So the next time you feel it, that subtle sense of eyes unseen, pause, breathe, and smile gently. You are not alone in the strange way you think. You are human, and your brain, ancient and kind, is simply doing what it has done for thousands of years, keeping watch over you. Imagine for a moment the world long before cities, before warm houses, before the safety of locked doors and glowing lights. A world filled with tall grass, rustling forests, and the endless whisper of wind across open land. In that ancient world, humans were not the hunters we are now. We were also the hunted. Eyes, unseen in the brush, watched every movement. A shadow could mean safety or danger. Survival meant listening, not just with ears, but with the entire body. Over thousands of generations, our brains became masters of vigilance. They learned to detect threats before sight or sound confirmed them. The faintest hint of movement, the quietest pattern of silence, was enough to awaken the body's ancient guardian, the alarm system within. That system still lives inside you today. It hums quietly, deep in the folds of your brain, ever ready to protect you. You may not notice it most of the time, but when the room grows silent, when you feel alone, it can awaken, sending that soft tingle of awareness up your spine. It is in truth a gift from your ancestors, a whisper of evolution. The reason you feel watched, even when no one is there, is because somewhere deep inside, a part of you still lives in that wild, untamed world. This ancient alarm system is built from many parts. Your eyes scan the edges of vision. Your ears analyze the softest vibrations. And your brain interprets these fragments, weaving a picture of the world around you. But when data is missing, when silence is too deep or darkness too thick, the brain fills the blanks with possibility. And possibility often feels like presence. That's when your heart begins to race, your breathing slows, and you feel the unseen watcher. It's easy to dismiss that as imagination, but it's far more intricate than that. It's a biological reflex, a memory of survival. Long ago, those who were too calm, too slow to react, did not live long enough to pass on their genes. But those who felt that silent alarm, the quickening of pulse, the sudden sense of eyes upon them, they survived. They ran before danger was seen. They before threat arrived. And so the cautious genes, the vigilant ones, became our inheritance. Our bodies are sculpted by fear, but protected by it too. Today, that same system still functions, though the predators are gone. Instead of wolves or tigers, we now sense unseen gazes. Imagine footsteps, the soft hum of electricity that tricks the mind into awareness. It's not a flaw. It's your body's way of keeping you safe, even when safety is already there. When you feel like someone's watching you, that ancient alarm gently hums. It's your body saying, I'm still guarding you, even now. Let's travel deeper now, into the machinery of that invisible alarm. Inside your brain, a tiny region called the amygdala acts as the first responder. It sits near the center, shaped like a small almond, constantly scanning for threat. The amygdala is fast, astonishingly fast. Before your eyes even finish processing what they see, it's already deciding whether you should be afraid. If it senses danger, it floods your body with signals. Your heart quickens, your pupils widen, your muscles tighten, ready to move. It doesn't wait for proof. It reacts to possibility. And that, perhaps, is the essence of why we feel watched. The amygdala does not need certainty. It needs only a whispered doubt. Imagine walking home at night, streetlights flickering in the distance. A shadow shifts across the corner of your eye. Was it movement or just a branch in the wind? The amygdala doesn't care. It pulls the alarm instantly. It says, just in case, be ready. And so your body tenses. You turn, scanning the space behind you. Your senses sharpen, eyes straining, ears listening for footsteps that may not exist. That heightened awareness, that tingling unease, is the brain's ancient survival code, running just as it did 100,000 years ago. In truth, your amygdala cannot tell the difference between a predator in the dark and an empty hallway. To it, both are unknown, and the unknown deserves attention. This same alarm system explains why horror movies work. Even when we know the screen is fictional, the flickering shadows and tense silence activate the very circuits meant to protect us. Our rational brain whispers, "It's just a movie." But the older primal brain replies, "Still, something's moving. Stay ready." And so, the feeling of being watched isn't about actual eyes. It's about potential eyes, a readiness to perceive attention, real or imagined. This readiness was once the difference between life and death. Now it's mostly harmless, but the body doesn't know that. It still prepares you for a chase. Even in your living room, it's fascinating to think that in every heartbeat of fear, we are reliving the experience of our earliest ancestors, those who survived by trusting this feeling. Every goosebump, every chill, every racing heartbeat in stillness, these are echoes of their vigilance, tiny living fossils, still breathing in our nervous systems. Now, let's slow the world around us once more. The night stretches long, and in its quiet, you can almost hear your brain working. That low, constant hum of protection. It's easy to think of this alarm system as an enemy, as anxiety or paranoia. But in truth, it is a companion, a guardian that never sleeps. From the moment you were born, your brain has watched over you. It has scanned every silence, every shadow, every flicker of change in the world around you. Sometimes overreacts, imagining a presence that isn't there. But even then, it means well. It's simply trying to keep you safe. When you understand this, the feeling changes. It's no longer haunting. It's humbling to realize that deep inside, a piece of you is still connected to the first humans who walked this earth, alert beneath the stars, listening to the sounds of the dark. That same alertness now whispers in your own body, in your own breath. It's the thread that links you to every ancestor who survived long enough to create you. And when you feel that sudden unease, that invisible gaze in the shadows, you can pause, smile softly, and think, this is my ancient protector. It has never stopped watching. The human brain is not only an organ of thought, it is an archive of instincts, a museum of survival, and the alarm system within is the most loyal guardian of all. So, The next time you sense it awaken, you can thank it quietly. You can whisper, "It's all right. I'm safe now." And it will understand. Because that alarm doesn't need proof. It only needs peace. Let it rest as you rest. Let the ancient watcher within you finally close its eyes, knowing you are safe. Deep within the folds of your brain, beneath layers of memory, thought, and awareness, lies a tiny almond-shaped structure, small enough to fit on your fingertip, yet powerful enough to shape your emotions, your fears, and that mysterious feeling of being watched. This is the amygdala. Its name comes from the Greek word amygdale, meaning almond. Two of them rest within your brain, one on each side, quietly watching, like twin guardians hidden in the shadows of the mind. They are among the oldest structures in the human brain, ancient in design and purpose, long before humans could think in words. The amygdala was already feeling, reacting to danger, to warmth, to connection. When you walk alone at night and suddenly feel that invisible presence, it's your amygdala that sounds the first alarm. Before your conscious mind even forms a thought, before your eyes confirm what's real or imagined, the amygdala decides. Something's here. It sends messages racing through your body, a small electric storm of survival. Your heart beats faster. Your breathing slows and deepens. Your muscles tighten just slightly, ready to move if needed. And yet, in most cases, there's nothing there. No watcher, no danger, only silence. Still, the amygdala doesn't apologize. It doesn't know how. It simply says, better safe than sorry. You could think of it as a loyal but overprotective friend, one that startles easily, but always with good intentions. This tiny almond is part of what scientists call the limbic system, the emotional network of the brain. It works closely with the hippocampus, which records memories, and with the prefrontal cortex, which reasons and judges. Together, they form a delicate balance. But when the amygdala acts first, it often overrides reason. That's why in moments of fear, you don't think, you react. And that reaction is the reason you sometimes feel watched. The amygdala evolved to keep us alive by detecting threat from even the faintest cues. A rustle in the dark, a shifting shadow, a quiet intuition. It's all the same to this tiny organ. It interprets uncertainty as danger, because in the ancient world, hesitation could mean death. It's better, evolution decided, to be afraid of nothing than to ignore something. So even today, when you feel that faint unease in an empty room, you're hearing the ancient whisper of the amygdala, the voice of every ancestor who survived by paying attention. Now, let's look a little deeper into how the amygdala truly feels. It doesn't understand logic. It doesn't speak the language of thought. It speaks in sensations. The tightening of a chest, the warmth of love, the tremble of fear, the chill of alertness. It lives entirely in the realm of emotion. When you feel like you're being watched, your amygdala is translating absence into alertness. It's saying, I don't see anything, but I sense attention. To test how powerful it really is, scientists once studied patients with damage to both amygdalae. These rare individuals could see danger, but not feel fear. They could stand before a venomous snake, recognize that it was dangerous, but remain calm. No racing heart, no tingle of dread. It was as though they lived in a world stripped of warning signs. Without the amygdala, the body loses its sense of urgency, its whisper of self-protection. And that's what makes the amygdala so remarkable. It doesn't wait for proof. It reacts to possibility, to shadows, to glances, to energy in the air. In our modern world, that same system sometimes misfires. We sit in quiet homes, surrounded by safety, but the amygdala still hunts for ancient patterns. The silhouette of a figure, a sound that feels just a bit off. Even the modern feeling of being watched through technology, through cameras, screens, social media, can awaken this ancient alarm. Because deep down, your brain doesn't distinguish between physical eyes and digital ones. Attention is attention, and your amygdala responds all the same. It's fascinating. This tiny almond that cannot think, yet holds so much power over what you feel. You might wonder, can we calm it? Can we teach this ancient part of us that the modern world is mostly safe? Yes, we can. Through mindfulness, deep breathing, and calm awareness, we send gentle signals back to the amygdala. We tell it, softly, you did well, but it's all right now. Every slow breath you take reduces its activity. Every moment of peace rewires the circuits that connect it to the rest of your brain. The amygdala learns, over time, that not every silence hides a predator. Not every shadow holds a watcher. Sometimes silence is just silence, and peace is safe. Now let's imagine what happens in the precise moment the feeling arises. You're walking through your house at night. It's quiet, only the hum of distant traffic or the ticking of a clock. Your eyes catch a faint movement, a flicker, perhaps from your reflection in a window. Instantly, your amygdala fires. It tells your heart, something's here. Your breathing changes. Your awareness sharpens. And then, a second later, your rational brain catches up. It says, just my own reflection. The feeling fades, but the body remembers it for a while longer. That's the delicate dance between the amygdala and the thinking mind. Emotion first, logic later. Always emotion first. This is why feelings of being watched feel so real. They emerge in the body's oldest, fastest systems. They don't wait for evidence. They're ancient truth tellers, telling you to stay aware, even when there's nothing to fear. You could imagine your amygdala as a watchtower guard, always scanning, always ready. And even when danger is long gone, it still watches the horizon, just in case. There's something tender about that, isn't there? That even in this modern age, with soft beds, glowing screens, and the hum of electricity replacing the growl of beasts, the guard still keeps watch. Quietly, faithfully, for you. So the next time you feel that invisible gaze, remember, it's not a ghost, not a presence, but a pulse, a heartbeat from your own brain, your amygdala, doing the job it has always done. And as you breathe slowly, your body tells it, you've done enough for today. And like a faithful guardian finally resting, it calms, it releases, it softens into stillness. And in that stillness, you discover something beautiful, that the same system which once protected you from danger is also the one that allows you to feel wonder, because the amygdala doesn't only react to fear, it also responds to awe, to beauty, to the feeling of being deeply moved. It's the same almond of emotion, just seen through a different light. So when you look at a night sky and feel something vast and unseen watching you, it might be your amygdala again, but this time, not afraid, just amazed. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine standing in a dimly lit room, The lights are low, the corners softened in shadow, the air still. You look straight ahead, and everything feels clear, stable, familiar. But then, something moves just at the edge of your sight, a faint shift, so subtle, you're not sure if it was real. That fleeting moment, that whisper of movement, comes from your peripheral vision. It's one of the oldest and most sensitive parts of your visual system, a silent watcher of the world beyond your focus. Unlike your central vision, which handles details, colors, and clarity, your peripheral vision is tuned to motion. It doesn't care about sharpness or shape, only change. It evolved long before we lived in cities, before we built walls and windows, when our ancestors needed to sense movement in the darkness, the rustle of leaves, the approach of a predator, the motion of safety or threat. Even now, when you see a faint flicker at the edge of your sight, your eyes are doing what they've always done, watching for danger you cannot yet see. The retina at the back of your eye isn't uniform. At its center lies a small pit called the fovea, packed with cones that detect fine detail and bright color. But around that center, the cells change. They become rods, highly sensitive to movement and low light. This ring of rod cells forms the foundation of your peripheral vision. It's not there to see clearly. It's there to notice. It sends messages straight to your brain's ancient circuits, skipping over the parts that ask, "What am I seeing?" and going directly to, "Something's moving, be alert." That's why you can feel watched. Even before you identify who or what might be there, your eyes detect motion first. Your mind fills in the rest. In dim light, this becomes even more intense. Your fovea, the detail center, goes almost blind in darkness, but your peripheral rods become more active. They start scanning for changes, for flickers, for shadows that seem to breathe. So when you're in a dark room and think you saw someone pass by the doorway, you might not be imagining it. Your peripheral vision likely did sense movement. It's just that your central vision can't confirm it. And that uncertainty, that in-between space, is where imagination begins. Now, imagine walking outside at dusk. The sky is a deep violet, and the world is slowly surrendering its color. In this twilight, your peripheral vision takes control. You might notice how the corners of your eyes seem almost alive, as if something could appear at any moment. That's not fear exactly. It's vigilance, the evolutionary echo of millions of years of survival. In the wild, the system kept us alive. Those who sensed danger from the edges lived longer. Those who didn't survive to pass on their genes. So the human eye became a hybrid of clarity and instinct, central focus for known things, peripheral awareness for the unknown. In the modern world, though, that same mechanism often misinterprets harmless signals. A curtain swaying from air pressure, a reflection on a screen, a pulse of light from a passing car. To your peripheral vision, all these movements feel significant. And when your amygdala, that ancient guardian, receives the signal, it reacts just as it would to a predator in the forest. Your pulse quickens. You feel a presence. The old circuitry hums to life. It's a beautiful illusion, a collaboration between biology and imagination. Your eyes detect the possibility of life, and your mind paints in the details. That's how shadow figures, fleeting forms, and phantom movements can seem so convincing. They're not ghosts, not hallucinations, but echoes of your own survival system, overinterpreting the quiet signals of the dark. Some scientists call this the peripheral shadow effect. It's why people often report seeing movement just outside their line of sight. In truth, your brain is simply guessing what's there, a process known as predictive perception. It fills in the blanks, smoothing over gaps in reality to create a seamless experience of the world. But sometimes that imagination runs a little wild, and so the shadows seem alive, and the watcher unseen. Here's something even more fascinating: the link between your peripheral vision and your sense of presence. In experiments with virtual reality, researchers discovered that when subtle movements or shadows are placed in a viewer's periphery, the brain reacts as though someone else is there. Even if no form is shown directly, the body tenses, the heartbeat changes, and the amygdala lights up. It seems that our brains don't need to see a person to feel that one exists. They only need to sense the pattern of presence, a kind of invisible motion signature. That same mechanism explains why many spiritual or supernatural experiences begin at the edge of vision. Your mind detects a flicker, your body responds with curiosity or fear, and your imagination fills the rest. But rather than dismissing this as a flaw, we can see it as something wondrous, because this is how your brain perceives the world's mystery. The unknown becomes visible only in glimpses, never fully seen, never fully explained. Your peripheral vision is like the curtain between reality and imagination, and every time something stirs behind it, you are reminded that the universe is vast, and you are deeply, profoundly alive within it. So the next time a shadow moves, where no one should be, don't fear it. Acknowledge it as a gentle echo of your own awareness, the brain's way of saying, I'm still here, still watching, still alive. And then let the shadow fade. Let your breath slow again. Let the mystery remain a mystery, because sometimes not knowing is the most beautiful part of being human. Imagine you're sitting quietly in a cafe. You lift your cup, take a sip, and as you lower it, you notice someone across the room doing the same. You both smile. A small, wordless moment of recognition. That instant, that invisible link between two people, is powered by something extraordinary inside your brain. Mirror neurons. These special cells were first discovered in the early 1990s by a group of Italian researchers studying macaque monkeys. They noticed that when a monkey reached for a peanut, certain neurons in its brain fired. But what surprised them was that the same neurons fired when the monkey simply watched another monkey do it. It was as if the brain was performing the action itself, even though the body remained still. Later studies confirmed that humans have a similar system, a delicate network of neurons that mirror the actions, emotions, and intentions of others. When you see someone smile, your mirror neurons simulate the feeling of joy. When you see someone trip, you feel a tiny spark of their surprise, their pain. When you sense eyes watching you, your brain begins to mirror the experience of being observed, as if another consciousness has entered your personal space. This ability to feel what others feel is the foundation of empathy and social awareness. It's what lets us connect deeply, to imagine other minds, to read expressions, to anticipate thoughts. But it also means we sometimes project presence where there is none, because your brain is wired to detect human attention, even a faint hint of it, a shape resembling a face, a stillness that feels intentional, a sound that aligns with your rhythm, can trigger the mirror system. Your neurons begin to simulate the feeling of being perceived, and soon that simulation becomes sensation. It feels real. This is the strange beauty of your social brain. It's always reaching outward, seeking to connect, even in silence, even in solitude. Let's explore how these mirror systems intertwine with the emotion centers of your brain, the insula and amygdala, regions tied to emotion and self-awareness, light up when mirror neurons activate. It's as if your brain blurs the boundary between you and the world around you. You don't just see another person's gestures. You feel them internally. You don't just observe a gaze. You sense its weight, the subtle emotional signal it carries. This is why the feeling of being watched often feels emotional rather than logical. You may turn your head without thinking, heart slightly faster, skin tingling. Even before you have any evidence of another's eyes, your mirror system may have detected a trace. Not a face, not a movement, but a suggestion. It's like an echo of human presence, so faint yet so powerful that your entire body prepares to respond. Artists, storyteller, and actors intuitively use this. They know that simply looking can communicate volumes. A long pause in a film, a character's slow glance, a portrait's eyes seeming to follow you, all tap into the same ancient network of perception. You're not imagining their gaze. Your mirror neurons are simulating it, projecting attention outward and reflecting it inward at the same time. In this way, we live inside a kind of invisible web, a constant exchange of energy, emotion, and implied awareness. Even when you're alone in your room, your mind doesn't truly rest from this exchange. It replays the gazes, gestures, and tones you've absorbed throughout the day. It's why solitude sometimes feels full. It's why you can sense someone's presence long after they've gone. Your mirror neurons continue to echo the patterns of connection they've learned, as if rehearsing the dance of being human. Now imagine you're in a quiet forest. The trees stand still. No one else is there. And yet, you feel a presence, a soft awareness surrounding you like eyes in the wind. Science tells us that even in moments like this, your social brain remains active. The same mirror systems that detect emotion and attention sometimes misfire, applying social meaning to non-social cues. The movement of leaves, the shifting of light, the soft pattern of sound. It's as if your mind is gently testing the question, is someone there? And when the environment mirrors your rhythm, the sway of a branch matching your breath, the whisper of wind following your pause, your mirror neurons respond, as though another consciousness is near. This isn't superstition. It's sensitivity. It's the beautiful overreach of a brain designed for connection. Humans evolved to survive through cooperation, to read faces, moods, and intentions with exquisite precision. So even in silence, even when alone, your brain continues to look for that spark of awareness. This is why we say, the forest is alive, or the night is watching. We are projecting our own awareness outward, a form of communion between self and world. It's not paranoia. It's empathy extended to nature itself. Your mirror neurons let you feel watched because they were built to make you feel seen, and in a quiet, poetic way. That's what it means to be human, to exist within a living network of minds, each reflecting the other, like ripples in still water. So when you feel the gaze of the unseen, you might smile softly and whisper to yourself, perhaps it's just my mind, remembering what connection feels like. There are nights when the house is quiet, and yet your mind feels wide awake. The faintest sound, a creak in the floorboards, a whisper of air through the curtains, and your thoughts begin to stir. You listen, you wait, you feel your heartbeat, as if something unseen is near. This is the body's hypervigilant state, a subtle but powerful response born from stress, from anxiety, and from the brain's deep need to stay safe. To understand it, we must visit the ancient partnership between your nervous system and your perception inside your brainstem. A structure called the reticular activating system acts like a watchtower, constantly scanning for anything unusual. It listens for patterns, shifts in light, changes in temperature, the rhythm of familiar sounds. When something breaks the pattern, the system sends an alert. It whispers to your amygdala, "Something's different, stay ready." Your pupils dilate, your muscles tighten slightly, and your breathing becomes shallow, not from fear, but from readiness. In the wild, this response meant survival. A rustle in the grass could mean a predator. A shift in wind might carry danger. Your ancestors lived by reacting quickly to what they couldn't yet see. But in modern life, the same mechanism often activates without true threat. Stress, whether from work, relationships, or fatigue, raises the body's baseline of alertness. Your senses sharpen, even when there's nothing to defend against. And so, in the quiet of your room, your body might misinterpret stillness as suspense. You might feel a gaze that isn't there, a watcher made of your own awareness. This is an imagination in the childish sense. It's the physiology of vigilance, the hormones involved. Cortisol and adrenaline don't just prepare muscles. They heighten sensory acuity. They make you feel more. They make shadows deeper, sounds louder, silence thicker. Your body's preparing for something your mind cannot name. And that's where the mystery of being watched often begins. Now let's explore what happens when this state of readiness lingers too long. Imagine your mind as a finely tuned alarm system, meant to ring when danger is near and rest when it passes. But under chronic stress, that system doesn't quiet down. It stays on, softly buzzing in the background. You might not notice it at first. You simply feel restless, uneasy, a bit too aware of the world around you. Over time, this turns into hypervigilance, a state where your senses are always scanning, your mind always questioning. It's the feeling of someone's there, even in emptiness. Hypervigilance doesn't need a cause. It's a pattern of heightened expectation. Your brain begins predicting threat, even without evidence. Here's how it unfolds. Your amygdala, the emotional sentinel, becomes more reactive. It starts flagging minor cues, like a flicker of light or a faint sound, as potential danger. Your prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain, tries to step in, saying, "It's nothing, just a wind." But under stress, its calming influence weakens. And so your emotional circuits begin to override reason. Your body tightens. Your heartbeat lifts. Your breathing shortens, as though eyes were upon you. It's the biology of protection, mistaken for presence. The human brain didn't evolve to rest easily in stillness. It evolved to predict motion, to sense life. So when stillness lasts too long, your vigilant system begins to imagine what could move. That's why late at night, when everything is quiet, your mind fills the silence with possibilities. A shadow becomes intent. A creak becomes a step. And the watcher becomes a story, woven by your nervous system's need for meaning. In psychological studies, people under high stress are more likely to perceive being watched, even in neutral environments. Their brains are interpreting normal cues through a heightened filter of survival. It's as if the world itself grows more alive under the lens of anxiety. But that's not a failure. It's your body trying to care for you, trying to protect the delicate gift of your life. Now let's shift gently toward calm and recovery, because hypervigilance, though born from fear, can be soothed not by force, but by kindness and rhythm. The nervous system is like a river. When it's stormed by stress, the currents run fast, swirling with tension, but given time and warmth and gentle patterns of breathing, it begins to slow again. Each slow breath tells your body, it's safe now. Each exhale signals the amygdala that it can rest. When you consciously slow your breathing, the parasympathetic nervous system awakens, the branch responsible for peace, digestion, and restoration. It lowers your heart rate, softens your gaze, and clears the fog of false alarms. In that calm, the feeling of being watched fades like mist in morning light, because what your body was searching for wasn't danger, it was reassurance. Try this softly, close your eyes, and imagine your mind as a room filled with tiny lights. Each light represents a signal, a thought, a sound, a memory, a question. As you breathe in, the lights glow brighter. As you breathe out, they slowly dim until only a soft, steady glow remains. That is balance. That is presence without fear. The awareness is still there, the sensitivity, the alertness, but it no longer trembles. It simply is. This is the essence of regulating hypervigilance. To teach your ancient systems, that quiet can be safe, that stillness can be trusted. The truth is, your body isn't broken. It's just overprotective, a loyal guardian that sometimes forgets how to rest. So when you next feel watched, when that tingle of unseen presence returns, you might place a hand over your heart and whisper to yourself, I'm here, I'm safe, you can relax now, because the watcher you sense might just be your own body keeping you safe until your breath tells it to sleep again. Picture this. It's a quiet evening. You're sitting alone, reading a story, perhaps by candlelight or on a softly glowing screen. The tale you're reading is about an old, creaking house where people once claimed to hear footsteps in empty hallways. As you turn the page, the wind brushes against your window. A floorboard shifts beneath the house, and suddenly you pause, you listen, you feel that gentle tingling in your chest, that whisper of presence. It didn't come from the story itself, nor from the house around you. It came from your own mind, activated by the power of suggestion. Suggestion is one of the mind's most delicate, yet powerful forces. It works quietly, shaping what we notice, how we interpret sensations, and what we believe they mean. When someone tells you a place is haunted, your brain becomes more alert to sound, to movement, to flickers of light. You don't imagine things. You simply notice more. And because your amygdala, the brain's emotional sentinel, is tuned for survival, it fills the gaps with caution. That's why a dark hallway feels different. After someone mentions that Something once happened there. Nothing has changed in the physical world, but your mind has changed its frame of reference. Expectation bends perception. Psychologists call this the expectancy effect, the tendency for our minds to perceive what we anticipate. It's a kind of mental gravity that pulls our attention toward the possibility we've been offered. If someone whispers, "I feel like we're being watched," your own awareness subtly expands. You listen harder, you scan the room, and soon you feel the same tension, not because it's real, but because your mirror neurons and imagination respond to suggestion as if it were truth. Our brains evolved this way to survive. If someone in the tribe said, "There's danger nearby," it was safer for everyone to prepare, even if the danger wasn't real. That survival reflex still exists today, hidden beneath our modern logic. So when someone plants an idea of threat, your senses cooperate automatically. You feel it before you think it. Now let's explore how the environment works hand in hand with suggestion to create experiences that feel real even when they are born from the imagination. Every space you enter has its own quiet energy, a blend of light, sound, temperature, and atmosphere. In brightly lit, bustling places, your mind feels anchored in clarity. But in dim, enclosed spaces, where shadows linger and silence deepens, your attention becomes more fluid. Your imagination gains power. This isn't superstition. It's neurology. In low light, your brain receives less reliable visual information. The shadows blur detail, and your visual cortex fills in the blanks. It guesses at shapes, interprets subtle motion, and sometimes it creates forms that aren't really there. If, in that same environment, someone has already suggested that the space is eerie, your imagination has a theme, a lens through which to interpret uncertainty. A shadow becomes a figure, a draft becomes a breath, and the quiet itself becomes charged with imagined awareness. Researchers have studied this effect for decades. In one famous experiment, participants were placed in an empty room, told that it was haunted, and asked to report anything unusual. Even though the room was ordinary, many described subtle sensations, a feeling of being watched, a sudden chill, the sense that someone else was present. In a second trial, participants entered the same room, but were told it was a laboratory for air pressure testing. Almost none reported those eerie feelings. Same environment, different expectation, completely different experience. The mind, it seems, responds more to meaning than to matter. So when the setting, the lighting, and the story align, the imagination blooms. And sometimes it creates presences out of suggestion alone. But that's not a flaw. It's a sign of the brain's incredible creativity. We are wired to find patterns, to connect sensations to emotion, to build stories that make the world feel alive. Even in solitude, your brain prefers to believe in company. Now, let's bring these ideas together into a gentler reflection. The power of suggestion, combined with the environment, reveals how deeply perception depends on context. Your mind is not just a camera, it's a painter. It doesn't simply record what's around you. It interprets colors and breathes meaning into it. A quiet forest at noon feels peaceful and serene. The same forest at midnight feels mysterious, even haunted. Yet nothing in the forest has changed. Only the suggestion has. The idea that night is a time of hidden things. When the environment supports that suggestion, the rustle of leaves, the cool air the dim shapes in the dark. Your senses conspire with imagination to complete the picture. This is why people across cultures have always told stories about watchers in the dark, spirits, ancestors, gods, or unseen minds. Such stories emerge naturally from the way human perception responds to uncertainty. But there's also a beautiful side to this mechanism. Just as suggestion can create fear, it can also create comfort. If someone tells you that a space is safe, or blessed, or watched over with kindness, your body responds accordingly. Your breathing slows. Your heartbeat steadies. The same imagination that conjures watchers can also conjure peace. The environment amplifies whichever story you believe most strongly. So the next time you feel that familiar sensation, that quiet awareness in the air, you might ask yourself, what story am I telling my senses right now? If the story is one of tension, you can change it. You can breathe slowly, soften your gaze, and whisper inwardly, this place is calm. This moment is gentle. Nothing here wishes me harm. In doing so, you're not denying your perception. You're guiding it. You're giving your imagination a new suggestion, one rooted in safety and trust. And soon, the watcher you feel becomes simply the warmth of your own awareness, your consciousness turned inward, at peace with itself. That's the true power of suggestion, to remind the mind that it can create either fear or serenity. And in the soft light of understanding, most shadows fade away. From the moment humans first gathered around fires, we have told stories about unseen eyes in the dark, stories of spirits that guard, of ancestors that watch, of gods that see all. In every culture, in every era, you'll find these quiet echoes, the idea that something or someone is aware of us even when no one else is near. Why? Because long before science explained the world, our ancestors needed stories to fill the unknown. When thunder rolled across the sky, when the forest rustled without wind, or when they felt that strange tingling on the back of the neck, the human imagination stepped forward to answer the silence. Perhaps, they thought, someone unseen walks among us. Perhaps the spirits of the departed watch over their kin. Or perhaps gods, high above the clouds, observe and judge, guiding or guarding human lives. These weren't merely superstitions. They were frameworks for understanding emotion and awareness, that feeling of being watched, that alertness that rises uninvited, fit naturally into these beliefs. It was proof, in a way, that the world was alive and attentive. Across Africa, the Americas, Asia, and Europe, ancient cultures described watchers in many forms. In Egyptian mythology, the eye of Horus symbolized divine vigilance, a sacred gaze that protected from harm. In the Polynesian islands, spirits called Amakwa were believed to watch over families, appearing as birds or animals. In Norse tradition, Odin sacrificed an eye to see and know all things, the eternal watcher of men. Even in early Christianity, artworks depicted God with an all-seeing eye, radiating from a triangle, watching over creation with benevolent care. The message was comforting and cautionary both. You are never alone, even unseen. Your actions, your thoughts, your life exist within the awareness of something greater. And so, over generations, the feeling of being watched became entwined with morality, with reverence, with the sacred. It wasn't merely a trick of the mind. It was the voice of culture, echoing through sensation, As centuries passed, these stories began to evolve with the societies that told them. But even as religion gave way to philosophy, and philosophy to science, the feeling remained. Modern people might not speak of gods or spirits as much, but they still feel unseen eyes upon them. In cities and forests, in lonely rooms. Psychologists sometimes call this the presence illusion, the sense of being observed, even when logic insists otherwise. But beneath this illusion lies something deeply human, our collective inheritance of shared myth and belief. Consider how children are taught from an early age that certain figures are always watching. Santa Claus is watching. They hear the angels are watching. Be good, someone can see you. It's not meant to frighten. It's meant to guide behavior, to shape conscience through gentle awareness. But over years, this conditioning intertwines with instinct. We grow up with the sense that our actions are witnessed, that our private moments may not be entirely private. Even in secular societies, surveillance cameras, mirrors, and social media reinforce the sensation. The cultural message persists. You are being seen. So when you walk alone at night, or pause in a quiet house, and feel that subtle tension behind you, you are not only sensing the world through biology, you are also sensing through centuries of story. Collective belief leaves a fingerprint on the nervous system. It teaches what danger feels like, what safety feels like, and what the unknown might mean. In Japan, there is the ancient concept of tsukamagami, objects that gain a spirit after 100 years, becoming quietly aware of the humans who use them. In Central Africa, the Zonda people speak of witchcraft eyes, not as monsters, but as a force of unseen connection between lives. In Western folklore, from medieval Europe to modern films, haunted houses, ghostly presences, and the eyes in the dark are still powerful symbols. They remind us that perception is not only personal, it's cultural. When your ancestors lived in forests, filled with both predators and stories, it was wiser to assume awareness than to ignore it. And so, the instinct to feel watched became part of our collective nervous system, a shared echo of our survival and of our imagination. Now let's drift even deeper, beneath stories, beneath science, into the quiet heart of the human mind. Every myth, every shared belief is like a mirror held up to consciousness itself. When people across the world felt that they were being watched by gods, spirits, or nature, they were, in a sense, perceiving the watchfulness within themselves. Awareness looking at awareness. Mind noticing mind. Even now, when you feel eyes upon you, the sensation comes from an internal watcher. Your own brain monitoring the environment, your consciousness reflecting upon itself. But the human imagination, beautiful and boundless, doesn't like to be alone, so it paints this awareness onto the world around it. It imagines a gaze of something other, and finds comfort or mystery in that presence. That's what myths truly are, reflections of inner truth, projected outward as stories. When ancient people said that the stars were eyes watching from above, they were expressing wonder at the same consciousness that allows you to look up and feel small yet deeply seen. When shamans said that ancestors walk with them in dreams, they were touching the same subconscious that modern neuroscience calls memory and intuition. In every era, the feeling of being watched has reminded humans of connection to each other, to nature, to the unseen forces of the mind. And so, Even today, when you sense that presence, you are touching an ancient thread. You are standing where millions before you have stood, between the visible and invisible, between logic and feeling, between solitude and belonging. In that space, you can choose how to interpret the gaze. You can let it be frightening, or you can let it be sacred. Perhaps it's not something else watching you. Perhaps it's the universe itself, quietly aware through your own eyes. You are part of that awareness. You are the watcher and the watched, the story and the storyteller. And as you breathe, you can let that truth settle softly within you. You are never alone, not because something lurks behind, but because consciousness, the same gentle light that fills the stars, flows through you and through all things. That's a secret hidden in every ancient myth. Not that we are observed, but that we are connected. And connection, when seen through calm eyes, is one of the most peaceful feelings in the world. Imagine for a moment that you're standing at the edge of a forest at dusk. The light is fading, and the air hums quietly with life. The faint chirping of insects, the soft flutter of wings, the whisper of leaves stirred by the evening breeze. As you stand there, you feel it, that subtle awareness again, the tiny lift of hair on your neck, the sense that something could be watching. You breathe slowly, and notice how your mind begins to weave meaning. Perhaps it's an animal. Perhaps it's nothing at all. Or perhaps, just perhaps, it's that familiar instinct rising, the same one that's protected your ancestors for millennia. This is the ancient partnership within you. Instinct and intellect. They are not enemies, but two sides of the same mind. Instinct keeps you safe. It reacts faster than thought. It reads subtle cues in light, sound, and motion, and whispers, be alert. Reality, the reasoning mind, steps in next. It examines. It questions. It soothes. It reminds you that a flicker of shadow is simply wind through branches, that the faint creak of wood is only the house settling. Both are necessary. Instinct without intellect leads to fear. Intellect without instinct leads to blindness. Balancing them means listening with compassion to the body's alarms, but also guiding them gently with knowledge. The modern brain still carries the reflexes of prehistoric survival. When you walk alone at night, your amygdala, that almond-shaped guardian deep inside, stirs awake. It sharpens hearing, widens pupils, and prepares the muscles for flight. But in a world with fewer predators, these responses can become misplaced, triggered by solitude, silence, or imagination. Balancing instinct and reality is not about suppressing fear, but about understanding it. When you whisper to yourself, "It's all right, I'm safe," you're not denying instinct. You're comforting it. You're letting the logical mind hold the ancient one by the hand, as if saying, "Thank you for caring for me, but it's time to rest now." This simple act, acknowledging, breathing, and calming, is a form of inner harmony. It's where fear transforms into awareness, and awareness transforms into peace. Let's look closer now at how this balance works in everyday life. Every day, your brain receives countless sensory cues: the creak of a door, the flicker of light from a passing car, the faint sound of movement upstairs. Most of these sensations are harmless, but your survival system doesn't always know that. It reacts first and asks questions later. This is what psychologists call bottom-up processing. It begins with the senses before the rational brain can interpret the data. In contrast, top-down processing, is when your conscious mind takes the lead, interpreting information based on logic, memory, and reasoning. The magic happens when the two find balance. For instance, if you hear a sound in the dark, your bottom-up system alerts you, a spike of awareness, a tightening in the chest. Then your top-down system investigates. It recalls that the refrigerator hums, that the pipes expand with heat, that the cat sometimes walks at night. Together, they complete a cycle: alert, assess, resolve, rest. But when stress, exhaustion, or anxiety interrupt this balance, the cycle gets stuck in the first phase. Alert, the body stays tense, and the mind searches endlessly for a cause. That's often when people feel that eerie sensation of being watched. The mind, unable to locate a threat, creates one. Balancing instinct and reality, then, is an act of compassion toward yourself. When that feeling arises, try this. Pause. Take a slow breath in and exhale softly. Notice your surroundings. Name what you see: the room, the objects, the quiet air. Speak gently to yourself. I am here. This moment is calm. My senses are doing their job. This grounds you in the present, re-engaging the reasoning brain. The watcher you sense begins to fade. As awareness shifts from imagination to reality, you are not battling your biology. You are befriending it. Every heartbeat, every shiver, is simply your body's way of saying, I want to keep you safe. And that is something beautiful. Now, as we near the end of our exploration, let's reflect on what this balance truly means. It's not about eliminating instincts. It's about living peacefully with them, honoring their wisdom, while not letting them command the story. Science shows that mindfulness, slow breathing, and grounding techniques help the amygdala quiet down. When you breathe deeply, your body sends a signal upward: I am safe. Your heartbeat steadies, your brain waves soften, and clarity returns. This balance between the body's ancient alarms and the mind's modern understanding creates inner stillness. You might still feel, from time to time, that sense of unseen eyes, but instead of fear, it can become a moment of awareness, a reminder of how alive your perception truly is. In a way, it means your brain is listening, attuned, responsive, sensitive to the world. And sensitivity, when paired with understanding, is a gift. You might even think of it this way: that feeling of being watched is simply your consciousness noticing itself. When the mind turns inward, it sometimes mistakes its own reflection for another presence. But if you stay still and breathe into that awareness, you begin to feel the gentleness beneath it, the quiet hum of existence, the life that is always watching. Through you, not at you. In that realization, instinct and reality merge. There is no longer fear, only connection. So, the next time you walk alone at night and feel that quiet, ancient stirring, smile softly, acknowledge it, thank it, and let it pass like wine through tall grass. You are not being watched by shadows. You are being seen by life itself. You are part of a vast, aware universe that both observes and expresses itself through you. And in that truth, there is nothing to fear, only wonder. Now, let's take one final deep breath together. In and out. Feel your body resting in calmness. Feel the world settling into stillness around you. You have understood the science, the stories, and the soft mystery of why we feel watched. And now, You can let that awareness drift away, like mist dissolving in morning light. You are safe. You are seen. You are at peace. Good night, dear listener, and goodbye for now. Until we meet again in another calm discovery.